Estamos de regreso aquí en el programa Café Libre y ahora tenemos el gran honor de estar nuevamente con la senadora Tina Smith. Nos va a hablar un poco acerca de los últimos acontecimientos en el Senado. Welcome back to the show, Senator Smith.
Thank you, Oscar. I'm so glad to be back again with you.
Yes, it's been a while, but we are glad to have you back talking to our Minnesotan community here. Let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. Obviously, a lot of things are happening down in Capitol Hill. One of the more, if not the number one topic as of late has been the reproductive rights. As we all know, on Friday, on June 24th, the United States Supreme Court ruling, which overturned the decision of the Roe versus Wade in Casey versus Planned Parenthood, resulting in the constitutional right to an abortion. Was revoked. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are? I know that you have had some bills even prior to this that had something to do, with this particular issue, but having been the only senator that has worked for Planned Parenthood, I assume that obviously this is very close to your heart, and you have some, some very detailed, information on this.
Well, thank you, Oscar. Yes, I worked at Planned Parenthood. I'm the only senator who's ever worked at Planned Parenthood. And when I worked there, I was not a nurse or a provider, but I saw every day the capacity of women to make good decisions, moral decisions about their own health care, including the decision of whether or not to terminate a pregnancy. So when the United States Supreme Court ruled on it's called the Dobbs decision, which in effect took away a constitutional right that has been guaranteed in this country for nearly 50 years. It's the first time in my experience that a very specific right, the right to make decisions for yourself about abortion, was actually taken away from women. It was a stunning decision and very broad in its reach. So we now are in a world in the United States where women's rights are determined based on where they live. In Minnesota, where we have a state constitutional guarantee for the freedom to make reproductive choices for yourself, abortion is still legal with some restrictions that has been passed by the legislature. But in all of the states around Minnesota, abortion is now illegal, or access to abortion is severely curtailed. And this is creating a very chaotic situation for women and also for providers who are trying to figure out what they can do, what their legal options are. I have been working specifically to, first I should say, I believe that this should be a right. I believe that the ability to make decisions for yourself about your own body is fundamental, and that the Supreme Court was very wrong in making this decision. Now I'm focused on what we can do, all of the things that we can do to try to protect those rights where they still exist, to try to pass legislation that will put into law the protections of Roe versus Wade, and also see other things that we can do right now, working with President Biden to protect access to care where we can. And of course, I think this will be quite a big issue for voters as they head to the polls in November.
And we understand that obviously this hits even a little bit harder to our underserved community, which is, our colored community, and included our Hispanic community here in Minnesota.
That is such a great point. Access to abortion care when you are already struggling with systemic discrimination, when you are struggling because you don't have access to good health care, is particularly challenging. And literally, I heard stories of women that were in clinics on the day that the Supreme Court made their decision, who were basically sent away. They were told that they could not receive the care that they had decided was best for them. And that burden falls disproportionately on Black and brown women, women of color, Indigenous people all across the country.
Can you tell us a little bit about the bill that you introduced actually a day prior to this stunning decision by the Supreme Court?
Well, today in the United States, one of the most common way of terminating a pregnancy is through a medication. It's called medication abortion. It has been safe and legal and effective for over 20 years, and it can be used in the early stages of a pregnancy up through the 10th week. I am doing everything that I can to protect access to that medication abortion in states like Minnesota, where abortion is still legal. During the pandemic, the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration, they're the agency that governs the safety and effectiveness of all medications. They made the decision that it was safe to prescribe medication abortion over the phone through a telehealth visit, like many people have come to rely on because of the pandemic, and also that it could be sent to your home by mail. So this is a very important way for women to maintain access to medication, to abortion care in a time when there's so much stress and so much pressure on access. So my legislation would put those FDA rules into law so that no future president can change them. And we are now working through how to move that forward. I have to say that in the United States Senate, we do not have 60 votes to pass that legislation, but it is still very important to have the legislation out there because I think it helps to raise awareness and understanding of this important and safe way to get care.
Absolutely. We're going to take a little break now, and we'll be back in another segment, and we're going to discuss a little bit about the prescription drug process. Thank you.